Are you ready to shoot?
I'm not sure what to wear.
When I walk into the room, it's like the sick beat drops. My body starts to move, yeah, I feel on top. Everybody's looking and they're looking at me. Na 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 na. I wanna show it off. I wanna show it off. I wanna show it off.
Hi, this is Prerna and welcome back to my channel. You guessed it right. Our topic for today is sustainability in the fashion industry. You know, when you look good, you feel good, and fashion is supposed to make us feel fantastic. But not everyone is left feeling fantastic in this industry. Fashion is one of the most environmentally and socially damaging industries in the world. Up until a few years ago, brands operated on a 4-season cycle: spring-summer, autumn-winter, resort, and pre-fall. But now with the increase in fast fashion, brands are operating in a 52 micro-season cycle annually, which basically means one new collection per week. It is expected that the products are thrown away after some years. This idea of easy come and easy go has long perpetuated in our society. This is fast fashion, and everything about this is wrong. With clothing, it is important that the garment is beautiful and it has good functionality.
It has pockets.
But the price has to be right. Cheaper the better, right? But how exactly can we make items cheap? By choosing cheaper raw materials and ensuring they are made by cheap labor. The fashion industry especially used the latter options, and of course this led to big social problems. One such example is the Rana Plaza disaster in Dhaka in Bangladesh. That's one of the places which is the largest clothing producing cities in the world. A lot of workers complained that they were feeling very unsafe in the Rana Plaza building because it had cracks on the walls and floors, etc. Early in the workday, the power of the building cut off, the cracks widened, and the concrete fell onto the workers sewing, buttoning, and fastening clothes. It took less than 90 seconds for an 8-story building to pancake down and kill more than 1,000 workers and injure more than 2,500 others. Experts have since concluded that the garment factory collapse was entirely preventable. Since the Rana Plaza disaster, 109 more such accidents have taken place according to the International Labour Organization. There are other social problems as well involved, especially discrimination against women. Out of 74 million workers in the textile industry, more than 80% are women of color. Factory owners take advantage of women's unequal position in societies around the world too. They pay them less, demand more, and eliminate job security and diminish their rights. More and more research shows that women are actually physically and verbally abused at work. Take a look at this interview.
ঢুকছি সুতা কাটপার দিছিল সুতা কাটপার লিয়ে যা দিছে কাটার সহকারে দিছে এলা সুতা কাটি 400 টার্গেট দিছে এলা ঘন্টায় 20 পিস করে দেওয়া লাগবে তার মধ্যে জুলুম দেয় মানে ইয়ে করে বোকাবাজি করে
25 এক মাসের আরেক মাসের 25 তারিখে 30 তারিখে এরকম দিত কখনো কখনো 3 মাসের বেতনও পেন্ডিং থাকতো দিত না তারপর ওভারটাইম দেখা যেত যে 6 মাস 8 মাস 1 বছরও হয়ে যেত আমি ওভারটাইম পেতাম না
From impacts on people, let's look at the impacts on the planet. The fashion industry has some catastrophic impacts on the environment. Let's start with water pollution. Untreated toxic wastewaters from textile factories are dumped directly into the rivers. Another major source of water contamination is the use of unsustainable fertilizers for cotton production, which pollutes the runoff waters. Wastewater contains toxic substances such as copper, zinc, lead, and arsenic. These are extremely harmful for the aquatic life and for the health of millions of people who are living by those riverbanks. Next up, we have water consumption. When not produced organically, cotton can be a water-intensive crop. This generates tremendous pressure around our scarce resource and has ecological consequences such as the desertification of the Aral Sea, where cotton production entirely drained the water. Huge quantities of fresh water are also used for dyeing and finishing processes for all of our clothes. One cotton t-shirt requires 2,700 liters of water for its entire manufacturing and processing. That's equivalent for one person to drink water for 900 days. Let's now take a look at microfibers. Every time we wash a synthetic garment like polyester or nylon, 700,000 individual microfibers actually enter the water stream and make it all the way down to the oceans. These microfibers are then consumed by small aquatic organisms, which are then eaten by the smaller fish, who's then eaten by the bigger fish, and then ultimately ends up as plastic in our food chain. For more information on microfibers, I suggest you follow the hashtag What's in My Wash and even hashtag Stop Microwaste. Clearly, microfibers is a macro problem. Now, let's move on to waste accumulation. Did you know that synthetic products can actually last on the planet for more than 200 years because they are not biodegradable? So actually, your clothes are going to live longer on the planet than you. Clothing has clearly become disposable. As a result, we generate more and more textile waste. A family in the Western world throws away an average of 30 kg of clothing each year. Only 15% is recycled or donated, and the rest goes directly to the landfill or is incinerated. Let's take a look at deforestation. We all know the link that exists between forest and paper. But do we know the link that exists between forest and our wardrobe? Every year, 70 to 100 million trees are cut down in order for us to produce wood-based fabrics such as rayon and viscose. Even in 2020, 48% of the fashion supply chain was linked to deforestation. And the bad news is that it is estimated that the number of trees that are going to be cut for wood-based fibers are only going to double by 2050. And now let's take a look at the greenhouse gas emissions. The apparel industry accounts for somewhere between 5 to 10% of the global carbon emissions. 70% of the emissions from the fashion industry are coming from upstream activities, which means material production, processing, preparation, and so on. And the remaining 30% is coming from downstream activities, retail operations, end of life, and even use phase. Now, the fashion industry is aware about this and they are doing something. There are initiatives in place such as the Global Fashion Agenda, the Sustainable Apparel Coalition, which is a collaboration of 250 brands from 35 countries. There's the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and there's also a transnational NGO known as Fashion Revolution that's striving for safe, clean, and transparent fashion supply chain. And brands are actually joining these initiatives in order to mend their ways and do better. But often we also come to know about brands that are greenwashing. And what can you do as a consumer? Wait a second. Why are we using the term consumer for us? I think this is the very reason why we feel that we need to consume more, we need more than what we actually want, and so on. When exactly did we go from being citizens to consumers? Well, that can spark off a whole nother debate. But what can we do as responsible citizens of the planet? One is to shop less. I like Marie Kondo's idea of checking if an item of clothing in your wardrobe actually sparks joy. And if it doesn't, it's better to either recycle it or donate it. But why don't we try this principle at the very store itself before buying? Next, when you're at the store, definitely make sure to read your label. Your label can tell you a lot about where your clothing is coming from. And for example, if you want to buy organic cotton, make sure it has the stamp and it mentions it's organic cotton. Words like sustainable cotton, ecological cotton, conscious cotton are often very difficult to fact check. And even as far as synthetic fibers are concerned, make sure you look at the percentage recycled content in it. And often this percentage can also be misleading. Example, let's take a look at this jacket. For example, this jacket says it's 100% recycled polyamide, which makes it seem like it's 100% recyclable, right? But what it's saying is the polyamide in it is 100% recycled, whereas the filling of this entire jacket is actually polyester, which is a totally different material. Sometimes in the label, it will also say it's FSC certified, which means it's stamped by the Forest Stewardship Council. This would seem to imply that the clothing is certified, right? But actually, it's only referring to the paper of the tag and not to the item of clothing. Read and research about your brand. Make sure you are supporting local, ethical, and transparent brands. Shop less and shop local. When you shop local, you're already reducing the carbon footprint of your clothing items, which otherwise would have traveled 1.5 times around the world before getting to you. Next is mend and maintain your existing clothes. Wash them in cold water temperatures and air dry them, or use these DIY homemade air drying balls to actually dry and soak the water faster. Mend your clothes, sew them, and take care of them for a longer period of time. And if you are really done with your item of clothing but it's in perfect shape, there are new apps that have been launched where you can actually resell your item. If you want clothes for one particular occasion, instead of going and purchasing, you can go to stores such as Rent the Runway and rent an outfit for a particular occasion. The choice lies with us every time we purchase an item of clothing. Remember that you are voting with your wallet. What the world needs is a revolution of ideas and values at every step of the supply chain, because sustainable fashion is a shared responsibility. Thank you so much for watching, subscribing, and following us on our newly launched Instagram channel. And hey, before you forget, please remember, the most sustainable item of clothing that you have is the one that's already in the wardrobe.